Hello. Before we begin, a quick note. The Boy to Sleep podcast relies on you and sponsors, which means you will hear a quick advertisement before the beginning of tonight's episode. While the podcast is free, you are welcome to subscribe for just $2.99 per month, which supports the creation of this podcast and gives you an ad-free listening experience. Simply click the link in the show notes from your podcast app. Rest easy.
This episode is brought to you by Prime. Obsession is in session, and this summer, Prime Originals have everything you want. Steamy romances, irresistible love stories, and the book-to-screen favorites you've already read twice. Off Campus, Elle, Every Year After, The Love Hypothesis, Sterling Point, and more. Slow burns, second chances, chemistry you can feel through the screen. Your next obsession is waiting. Watch only on Prime.
From athletic stuff like a full-court pickup game, swish, to athlete-ish stuff like a half-mile stroll. Get those steps in. Head to Sierra or Sierra.com for the brands you want at the prices that let you do it all. From athletic to athlete-ish, Sierra's got it.
Hello. Welcome to the Bore You to Sleep podcast. The podcast that will hopefully help you get to sleep. I am going to read an open source book, one that is not particularly interesting, but one that is hopefully boring enough to get you to sleep. Tonight's reading comes from Dream Life, a Fable of the Seasons, written by Francis Hodgson Burnett and published in 1851. This story is a gentle, reflective wandering through the seasons of an imagined life, filled with soft daydreams, quiet observations, and calm musings about home, nature, and everyday existence. My name is Teddy, and I aim to help people everywhere get a good night's rest. Sleep is so important, and my mission is to help you get the rest you need. The podcast is designed to play in the background while you slowly fall asleep. For those of you who are new to the podcast, you may not know that it started from my own struggles with sleep. I wanted to create a resource for others facing similar challenges, and I'm so grateful for the amazing community we've built together. The podcast is self-made and self-produced, which is why you'll hear a short ad at the beginning of each episode. These ads, along with support from subscribers and patrons on Patreon, enable me to keep delivering this podcast for free to those who need it. Thank you to everyone who shared their words of gratitude with me during the week, whether through the website or their podcast app. Your messages mean the world to me. My goal is to keep this podcast free and accessible to everyone, which is why you'll hear a short ad at the beginning of each episode. It helps generate financial support and creation for this podcast. If you would like to help support the podcast, there are a few ways you can contribute. You can follow the podcast in your podcast app and leave a comment. You can also become a subscriber for $2.99 per month. This creates for an ad-free listening experience and supports episode creation. If subscribing is not possible, an easy way to help is simply by leaving a review and rating in your podcast app. If you would like to say hello to me, you can do that by visiting the website boytosleep.com. And if you know someone out there who may also need a good night's rest, you're always welcome to share this podcast with them. In the meantime, lie back, relax, and enjoy the readings. Dream Life, a Fable of the Seasons, by Donald G. Mitchell. Introduction, Chapter 1, With My Aunt Tabithy. Sure, said my Aunt Tabithy, have you not done with dreaming? My Aunt Tabithy, though an excellent and most notable person, loves occasionally a quiet bit of satire. And when I told her that I was sharpening my pen for a new story of those dreamy fancies and half-experiences which lie grouped along the journeying hours of my solitary life, she smiled as if in derision. "Ah, Isaac," said she, "all that is exhausted. You have rung so many changes on your hopes and your dreams, that you have nothing left but to make them real, if you can. It is very idle to get angry with a good-natured old lady. I did better than this. I made her listen to me. Exhausted, do you say, Aunt Tabitha? Is life then exhausted? Is hope gone out? Is fancy dead? No, no, hope and the world are full, and he who drags into book pages a phase or two of the great life of passion, of endurance, of love, of sorrow, is but wetting a feather in the sea that breaks ceaselessly along the great shore of the years. Every man's heart is a living drama. Every death is a drop scene. Every book only a faint footlight to throw a little flicker on the stage. There is no need of wandering widely to catch incident or adventure. They are everywhere about us. Each day is a succession of escapes and joys, not perhaps clear to the world, but brooding in our thought, and living in our brain. From the very first, angels and devils are busy with us, and we are struggling against them and for them. No, no, Aunt Tabitha, this life of musing does not exhaust so easily. It is like the springs on the farmland that are fed with all the showers and the dews of the year, and that from the narrow fissures of the rock send up streams continually. Or it is like the deep well in the meadow, where one may see stars at noon, when no stars are shining. What is reverie, and what are these daydreams but fleecy cloud drifts that float eternally, and eternally change shapes upon the great overarching sky of thought? You may seize the strong outlines that the passion breezes of today shall throw into their figures, but tomorrow may breed a whirlwind that will chase swift, gigantic shadows over the heaven of your thought, and change the whole landscape of your life. Dreamland will never be exhausted until we enter the land of dreams, and until, in shuffling off this mortal coil, thought will become fact, and all facts will be only thought. As it is, I can conceive no mood of mind more in keeping with that is to follow upon the grave, than those fancies which warp our frail hulks toward the ocean of the infinite, and that so sublimate the realities of this being, that they seem to belong to that shadowy realm whither every day's journey is leading. It was warm weather, and my aunt was dozing. "What is this all to be about?" said she, recovering her knitting needle. "About love and toil, and duty and sorrow," said I. My aunt laid down her knitting, looked at me over the rim of her spectacles, and took snuff. I said nothing. "How many times have you been in love, Isaac?" said she. It was now my turn to say, "Sure." Judging from her look of assurance, I could not possibly have made a more satisfactory reply. My aunt finished the needle she was upon, smoothed the stocking leg over her knee, and, looking at me with a very comical expression, said, "Isaac, you are a sad fellow." I did not like the tone of this. It sounded very much as if it would have been in the mouth of anyone else. Bad fellow. And she went on to ask me, in a very bantering way, if my stock of youthful loves was not nearly exhausted, and she cited the episode of the fair-haired Enrica, as perhaps the most tempting that I could draw from my experience. A better man than myself, if he had only a fair share of vanity, would have been nettled at this, and I replied somewhat tartly that I had never professed to write my experiences. These might be more or less tempting, but certainly, if they were of a kind which I have attempted to portray in the characters of Bella or of Carrie, neither my Aunt Tabitha nor anyone else should have learned such truth from any book of mine. There are griefs too sacred to the world, and there may be loved ones which would forbear to whisper even to a friend. No, no, imagination has been playing pranks with memory, and if I have made the feeling real, I am content that the fact should be false. Feeling indeed has a higher truth in it than circumstance. It appeals to a larger jury for acquittal. It is approved or condemned by a better judge, and if I can catch this bolder and richer truth of feeling, I will not mind if the types of it are all fabrications. If I run over some sweet experience of love, my Aunt Tabitha brightened a little. Must I make good the fact that the loved one lives, and expose her name and qualities to make your sympathy sound? Or shall I not rather be working upon higher and holier ground? If I take the passion for itself and so weave it into words, that you and every willing sufferer may recognize the fervor, and forget the personality, life after all is but a bundle of hints, each suggesting actual and positive development, but rarely reaching it. And as I recall these hints, and in fancy trace them to their issues, I am as truly dealing with life as if my life had dealt them all to me. This is what I would be doing in the present book. I would catch up here and there the shreds of feeling which the brambles and roughness of the world have left tangling on my heart, and weave them out into the soft and perfect tissues which, if the world had only been a little less rough, might now perhaps enclose my heart altogether. My Aunt Tabitha was wrong. There is as much growth in the thoughts and feelings that run behind us as in those that run before us. You may make a rich, full picture of your childhood today, but let the hour go by and the darkness stoop to your pillow with its million shapes of the past, and my word for it, you shall have some flash of childhood lighten upon you, that was unknown to your busiest thought of the morning. Let a week go by, and in some interval of care, as you recall the smile of a mother, and some pale sister who is dead, a new crowd of memories will rush upon your soul, and leave their traces in such tears as will make you kinder and better for days and weeks. I had touched my Aunt Tabitha. She had dropped a stitch in her knitting. I believe she was weeping. This brain of ours is a master worker, whose appliances we do not one half know, and this heart of ours is a rare storehouse, furnishing the brain with new material every hour of our lives, and their limits we shall not know until they shall end together. Nor is there, as many faint hearts imagine, but one phase of earnestness in our life of feeling. One train of deep emotion cannot fill up the heart. It radiates like a star, Godward and earthward. It spends and reflects all ways. Its force is to be reckoned not so much by token as by capacity. Facts are the poorest and most slumberous evidences of passion or of affection. True feeling is ranging everywhere, whereas your actual attachments are too apt to be tied to sense. A single affection may indeed be true, earnest and absorbing, but such an one, after all, is but a type, and if the object be worthy, a glorious type of the great book of feeling, it is only the vapour from the cauldron of the heart, and bears no deeper relation to its exhaustless sources than the letter, which my pen makes, bears to the thought that inspires it, or than a single morning strain of your orioles and thrushes bears to that wide-bird chorus, which is making every sunrise a worship, and every grove a temple. My Aunt Tabitha nodded. Nor is this a mere bachelor fling against constancy. I can believe, heaven knows, in an unalterable and unflinching affection, which neither desires nor admits the prospect of any other. But when one is tasking his brain to talk for his heart, when he is not writing positive history, but only making mention, as it were, of the heart's capacities, who shall say that he has reached the fullness, that he has exhausted the stock of its feeling, or that he has touched its highest notes? It is true, there is but one heart in a man to be stirred, but every stir creates a new combination of feeling, that like the turn of a kaleidoscope will show some fresh colour or form. A bachelor, to be sure, has a marvellous advantage in this, and with the tenderest influences, one anchored in the bay of marriage, there is a little disposition to scud off under each pleasant breeze of feeling. Nay, I can even imagine, perhaps somewhat captiously, that after marriage feeling would become a habit, a rich and holy habit certainly, but yet a habit, which weakens the omnivorous grasp of the affections and schools one to a unity of emotion that doubts and ignores the promptness and variety of impulse which we bachelors possess. My aunt nodded again. Could it be that she approved what I had been saying? I hardly knew. Poor old lady, she did not know herself. She was asleep. Having silenced my Aunt Tabitha, I shall be generous enough in my triumph to offer an explanatory chat to my reader. This is a history of dreams, and there will be those who will sneer at such a history as the work of a dreamer. So indeed it is, and you, my courteous reader, are a dreamer too. You would perhaps like to find your speculations about wealth, marriage, or influence called by some better name than dreams. You would like to see the history of them, if written at all, baptized at the font of your own vanity, with some such title as Life's Cares or Life's Work. If there had been a philosophic naming to my observations, you might have reckoned them good. As it is, you count them all bold and palpable fiction. But is it so? I care not how matter-of-fact you may be. You have in your own life at some time proved the very truth of what I have set down, and the chances are that even now, grey as you may be, and economic as you may be, and devotional as you pretend to be, you light up your Sabbath reflections with just such dreams of wealth, of percentages, or of family, as you will find scattered over these pages. I am not to be put aside with any talk about stocks and duties and respectability. All these, though very eminent matters, are but so many types in the volume of your thought, and your eager resolves about them are but so many ambitious waves breaking up from the great sea of dreamy speculation that has spread over your soul from its first start into the realm of consciousness. No man's brain is so dull, and no man's eye so blind, that they cannot catch food for dreams. Each little episode of life is full, had we but the perception of its fullness. There is no such thing as blank in the world of thought. Every action and emotion have their deployment growing and gaining on the soul. Every affection has its tears and smiles. Nay, the very material world is full of meaning, and by suggesting thought is making us what we are and what we will be. The sparrow that is twittering on the edge of my balcony is calling up to me this moment a world of memories that reach over half my lifetime, and a world of hope that stretches farther than any flight of sparrows. The rose tree which shades his mottled coat is full of buds and blossoms, and each bud and blossom is a token of promise that has issues covering life, and reaching beyond death. The quiet sunshine beyond the flower and beyond the sparrow, glistening upon the leaves and playing in delicious waves of warmth over the reeking earth, is lighting both heart and hope and quickening into activity 1,000 thoughts of what has been and of what will be. The meadow stretching away under its golden flood, waving with grain and with the feathery blossoms of the grass, and golden buttercups and white nodding daisies, come to my eye like the lapse of fading childhood, studded here and there with the bright blossoms of joy, chrismed all over with the flush of health, and enamelled with memories that perfume the soul. The blue hills beyond, with deep blue shadows gathered in their bosom, lie before me like mountains of years, over which I shall climb through shadows to the slope of age, and go down to the deeper shadows of death. Nor are dreams without their variety, whatever your character may be. I care not how much in the pride of your practical judgment, or in your learned fancies, you may sneer at any dream of love and reckon it all a poet's fiction. There are times when such dreams come over you like a summer cloud, and almost stifle you with their warmth. Seek as you will for increase of lands or monies, and there are moments when a spark of some giant mind will flash over your cravings, and wake your soul suddenly to a quick and yearning sense of that influence which is begotten of intellect. And you task your dreams, as I have copied them here, to build before you the pleasures of such a renown. I care not how worldly you may be. There are times when all distinctions seem like dust, and when at the graves of the great you dream of a coming country, where your proudest hopes shall be dimmed forever. Married or unmarried, young or old, poet or worker, you are still a dreamer, and will one time know and feel that your life is but a dream. Yet you call this fiction, you stave off the thoughts in print which come over you in reverie. You will not admit to the eye what is true to the heart. Poor weakling and worldling, you are not strong enough to face yourself. You will read perhaps with smiles, you will possibly praise the ingenuity, you will talk with a lip schooled against the slightest quiver of some bit of pathos, and say that it is well done. Yet why is it well done? Only because it is stolen from your very life and heart. It is good because it is so common, ingenious because it is so honest, well conceived because it is not conceived at all. There are thousands of mole-eyed people who count all passion in print a lie, people who will grow into a rage at trifles and weep in the dark, and love in secret and hope without mention, and cover it all under the cloak of what they call propriety. I can see before me now some grey-haired old gentleman, very money-getting, very correct, very cleanly, who reads the morning paper with unction and his Bible with determination, who listens to dull sermons with patience, and who prays with quiet self-applause. And yet there are moments belonging to his life, when his curdled affections yearn for something that they have not, when his avarice oversteps all the commandments, when his pride builds castles full of splendor, and yet put this before his eye, and he reads with the most careless air in the world, and condemns an arrant fiction, what cannot be proved to the elders. We do not like to see our emotions unriddled. It is not agreeable to the proud man to find his weakness exposed. It is shocking to the disappointed lover to see his heart laid bare. It is a great grief to the pining maiden to witness the exposure of her loves. We do not like our fancies painted. We do not contrive them for rehearsal. Our dreams are private, and when they are made public, we disown them. I sometimes think that I must be a very honest fellow for writing down those fancies, which every one else seems afraid to whisper. I shall at least come in for my share of the odium in entertaining such fancies. Indeed, I shall expect the charge of entertaining them exclusively, and shall scarce expect to find a single fellow confessor, unless it be some pure and innocent-thoughted girl, who will say peculier to here and there a single rainbow fancy. Well, I can bear it, but in bearing it I shall be consoled with the reflection that I have a great company of fellow-sufferers, who lack only the honesty to tell me of their sympathy. It will even relieve, in no small degree, my burden to watch the effort they will take to conceal what I have so boldly divulged. Nature is very much the same thing in one man that it is in another, and as I have already said, feeling has a higher truth in it than circumstance. Let it only be touched fairly and honestly, and the heart of humanity answers. But if it be touched foully or one-sidedly, you may find here and there a lame-souled creature who will give response, but there is no heart-throb in it. Of one thing I am sure, if my pictures are fair, worthy, and hearty, you must see it in the reading. But if they are forced and hard, no amount of kindness can make you feel their truth as I want them felt. I make no self-praise out of this. If feeling has been honestly set down, it is only in virtue of a native impulse, over which I have altogether too little control. But if it is set down badly, I have wronged nature, and, as nature is kind, I have wronged myself. A great many inquisitive people will, I do not doubt, be asking, after all this prelude, if my pictures are true pictures. The question the courteous reader will allow me to say is an impertinent one. It is but a shabby truth that wants an author affidavit to make it trustworthy. I shall not help my story by any such poor support. If there are not enough elements of truth, honesty, and nature in my pictures to make them believed, they shall have no oath of mine to bolster them up. I have been a sufferer in this way before now, and a little book that I had the whim to publish a year since has been set down by many as an arrant piece of imposture. Claiming sympathy as a bachelor, I have been recklessly set down as a cold, undeserving man of family. My story of troubles and loves has been sneered at as the sheerest gammon. But among this crowd of cold-blooded critics, it was pleasant to hear of one or two pursy old fellows who railed at me for winning the affections of a sweet Italian girl, and then leaving her to pine in discontent. It is in the face of this an old companion of mine in Rome, with whom I accidentally met the other day, wondered how on earth I could have made so tempting a story out of the matronly and black-haired spinster with whom I happened to be quartered in the Eternal City. I shall leave my critics to settle such differences between themselves, and consider it far better to bear with slanders from both sides of the house than to bury the pretty tenderness of the pursy old gentleman, or to cast a doubt upon the practical testimony of my quondam companion. Both give me high and judicious compliment, all the more grateful because only half deserved, for I never yet was conscious, alas, that the confession should only be forced from me, of winning the heart of any maiden, whether native or Italian, and as for such delicacy of imagination as to work up a loved damsel out of the withered remnant that 40-odd years of Italian life can spare, I can assure my middle-aged friends, and it may serve as a caveat, I can lay no claim to it whatever. The trouble has been that those who have believed one passage have discredited another, and those who have sympathized with me in trifles have deserted me when affairs grew earnest. I have had sympathy enough with my married griefs, but when it came to the perplexing torments of my single life, not a weeper could I find. I would suggest to those who intend to believe only half of my present book that they exercise a little discretion in their choice. I am not fastidious in the matter, and only ask them to believe what counts most towards the goodness of humanity, and to discredit, if they will persist in it, only what tells badly for our common nature. The man or the woman who believes well is apt to work well, and faith is as much the key to happiness here as it is the key to happiness hereafter. I have only one thing more to say before I get upon my story. A great many sharp-eyed people who have a horror of light reading, by which they mean whatever does not make mention of stocks, cottons, or moral homilies, will find much fault with my book for its ephemeral character. I am sorry that I cannot gratify such. Homilies are not at all in my habit, and it does seem to me an exhausting way of disposing of a good moral to hammer it down to a single point, so that there shall be only one chance of driving it home. For my own part, I count it a great deal better philosophy to fuse it, and rarefy it, so that it shall spread out into every crevice of a story, and give a colour and a taste, as it were, to the whole mass. I know there are very good people who, if they cannot lay their finger on so much doctrine set down in old-fashioned phrase, will never get an inkling of it at all. With such people, goodness is a thing of understanding, more than of feeling, and all their morality has its action in the brain. God forbid that I should sneer at this terrible infirmity, which Providence has seen fit to inflict. God forbid, too, that I should not be grateful to the same kind of Providence for bestowing upon others among his creatures a more genial apprehension of true goodness, and a hearty sympathy with every shade of human kindness. But in all this I am not making out a case for my own correct teaching, or insinuating the propriety of my tone. I shall leave the book in this regard to speak for itself, and whoever feels himself growing worse for the reading, I advise to lay it down. It will be very harmless on the shelf, however it may be in the hand. I shall lay no claim to the title of moralist, teacher, or romancist, my thoughts start pleasant pictures to my mind, and in a garrulous humour I put my finger in the buttonhole of my indulgent friend, and tell him some of them, giving him leave to quit me whenever he chooses. Or if a lady is my listener, let her fancy me only an honest, simple-hearted fellow, whose familiarities are so innocent that she can pardon them, taking her hand in his and talking on, sometimes looking in her eye, and then looking into the sunshine for relief, sometimes prosy with narrative, and then sharpening up the matter with a few touches of honest pathos. Let her imagine this, I say, and we may become the most excellent friends in the world. The old chroniclers made the year begin in the same season of frosts, and they have launched us upon the current of the months from the snowy banks of January. I love better to count time from spring to spring. It seems to me far more cheerful to reckon the year by blossoms than by blight. Bernardin de Saint Pierre, in his sweet story of Virginia, makes the bottom of the cocoa tree, or the growth of the banana, a yearly and a loved monitor of the passage of her life. How cold and cheerless in the comparison would be the icy chronology of the north. So many years I have seen the lakes locked and the foliage wither away. The budding and blooming of spring seem to belong properly to the opening of the months. It is the season of the quickest expansion, of the warmest blood, of the readiest growth. It is the boy age of the year. The birds sing in chorus in the spring, just as children prattle. The books run full, like the overflow of young hearts. The showers drop easily, as young tears flow, and the whole sky is as capricious as the mind of a boy. Between the tears and smiles, the year like the child struggles into the warmth of life. The old year, say what the chronologists will, lingers upon the very lap of spring, and is only fairly gone when the blossoms of April have strewn their pall of glory upon his tomb, and the bluebirds have chanted his requiem. And that concludes tonight's readings. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this story. If you're not quite tired yet, please feel free to listen to another episode of the Boy to Sleep podcast. Until next time, good night.